Hi friends, this is Bilal Haider, and in this video part we are actually going to look into this case, and we'll try to find a solution to this. So in the previous video part we learned about if and else. Okay, so let's see, we have two numbers here. Number 1 is 9 and number 2 is 10. Okay, and we want to compare these two numbers. So what we can do, basically we can say that if number 1 is greater than number 2, we console log greater. Okay, else if it's not greater than 2, then we can write another else condition here, and we can say it's either smaller or it's equal. So if we do this example like this, right? So there will be confusion for the user. Okay, for the program, basically, I mean, you need to, there are clearly three cases here, three outcomes here, and we need to find a solution when there are more than two outcomes of a problem. So for for this exact for this exact problem, there is a solution to this, and there is another um, conditional operator that we can use here, and that operator is called else if. Okay, so else if, it's written like so, and it also has a body, and we can put our second outcome in here. We can say if number 1 is greater than, or sorry, less than number 2, we can console log smaller, and if none of these two conditions are true, then we know that it must be equal, right? So we can just put equal in the else part. Okay, so now if I run this, you'll see that indeed 9 is smaller than 10. So this part of this if else conditional operators executes. Okay, so now let's make it equal. Then you will see that none of these two will execute, and the else part of it is going to execute. Okay, so it now tells me that the numbers are equal. So for that reason, when you have more than two outcomes of a problem, and you want to do based upon one thing at a time. Okay, so in our example here, the number can either be less than the second number, or it can be equal to second number, or it can be greater than the second number. So we have three outcomes here. So we need to tell one of the outcome to the user. Okay, we cannot do two outcomes. Okay, so for that reason we use if else conditional operators like this. Okay, so the method is very similar. That is, you start the first one with if, you write down your first outcome with if, you put your condition there, and you perform whatever task that you need to do. Then you write your second outcome. Okay, then you list your second outcome in else if. You cannot use if again. Okay, you must use else if you want to do one of these three things. Okay, If you want to do one of these three things, then you must use if else. Okay, you cannot do if else, or you cannot do if this, if this. That's not going to work, okay, when you want to do one of these three outcomes. So and it needs to be like this, exactly like this. So you first list down your first outcome with if, you list your second outcome with else if, and you list your third outcome with another else if you have more than three, and you finally you put your last outcome, your final outcome, in else. Okay, so let's say you have four outcomes to a problem. Then what you will do, you will list your first one with within if, your second one within else if, your third one within else if. You will create another else if here like this, and make sure you correctly follow this pattern here, uh, otherwise it will give you an error. So I can also do like number 1 equals number 2, right? Then I want to do equal. Then in else, what I can write, I can say invalid input, right? So there can be another case here where you're comparing some string with a number, okay, where your number 1 is not actually a number but it's a string. So then it's going to say invalid input. So you have actually listed 4 outcomes of a problem here. Okay, so similarly, if you have more than 4, you can continue writing them all by creating else if blocks, but it should start with if, then it should follow with else, couple of else ifs, then the final statement should be an else. Okay, so this is the conditional operation which we have actually mastered just now, and we can actually create any logic, any conditional logic with this conditional operator here. So what you do basically is, if you think this is tough for you, or you're finding hard time grasping it, you write down some constants here, then you create some conditions for those constants and practice it, and you will figure it out. For now, I'm just finishing this video, so I guess I'll see you next time.